Welcome and thanks for clicking on my channel. I had an idea today that I wanted to make a snowman hanger. I have these rounds that I had actually ordered from Temu and they're quite thick. I took one of the small cutting boards and traced off the shape of a hat, and I also used that same thing to cut out a shape of a nose. So as you can see, I'm going to be making a snowman plaque today. So the first thing I want to do is actually stain this. I have some tiny little snowflakes that I plan to paint and put on his hat. And then I also have a welcome sign. So the first thing I'm going to do is stain my board. And I've already traced out where I want the snowman's face to be. Let me get a baby white and we will get the front. I'm going to stain the front and the back just to give it that finished look. Give it a good wipe first. Now a quick dry. Make sure I don't have any dust. I saw a video on this the other day and I thought it would be really cute to replicate. I cannot remember the site and I apologize. But I'm not sure what she used for her hat, but I had those little cutting boards and I thought, why not just make out the pattern for a hat and make the entire thing out of wood. I think she might have used cardboard and covered it with black felt, but I just plan to paint mine black. And then I'll embellish it with some ribbon and some greenery and that sort of thing. So I'm just going to get this stained up real quick, and I'm just using antique wax from Waverly that I've watered down to make a stain. And you can make this as light or as dark as you like, depending on how many times you do this. And while I've got it turned over here, I'm going to go ahead and take some twine, just a small piece of twine, and I'm going to put a knot in each end. And I'm just going to be making a hanger. I want to make sure that I have this right, so I need to turn my snowman's going to be that way. So I need to turn it here. Make sure I put my hanger in the right place. I'm just going to put a couple of knots in this. Whoop. That way when I staple it, that knot will hold it in place. Grab a staple gun. I'm putting the staple. There we go. That should hold. I'm just going to lay that down for a second and see about how long I want my hanger to be. Snip off a little extra there and make sure. Tie a double knot or a triple knot in this end as well. Now just knot it and make another knot and tie the knot onto itself to make it kind of substantial. Turn this a little bit sideways this time so I don't miss the mark. There we go. And we have a significantly substantial holder. And I'm just going to snip off the excess. And that way we won't have to keep flipping it back over. And that's perfect. So now that I have that stained, I did a project earlier with a church plaque and had mixed up some of that green paint. And I really, really love that color. So I'm going to do that. Use that same green for my welcome sign. Just have a little welcome cutout that I got from Michael's. And I'm going to use that same green. And I'm just going to do the front. Learned my lesson with that other one. It took forever to paint the bliss, so I'm just going to do the front side of this one. Not going to do the bottom or the back, because I am going to. Okay, I'm going to let that dry and see if we'll need a second coat. Not sure if we will or not. So we're going to go ahead and use our vintage white and do our little snowflakes that are going to go on Mr. Snowman's hat. And I'm just painting the tops of these. I'm not painting all those little nooks and crannies. That's just like way over the top. So I'm just turning my brush sideways a little bit so that it just covers the top. Try not to get it in all those little grooves. And not sure if we'll wind up needing a second coat on that as well. So we'll just keep this out for the moment. Put that to the side. And then we'll paint our snowman's hat. And I am going to paint this on the front and back because the way I'm going to position it on my board, the back will be showing. So I am going to paint both the front and the back. Let me get just a little bit of paint in my lid so that I don't spill it everywhere. And we'll get our snowman's hat painted up. I have some really pretty Christmas ribbon that I found at Sam's the other day. Excellent price for the amount you get. I think I'm going to use that for my the band around my snowman's hat. We'll see what it looks like. You know, this crafting you always plan something, but sometimes you change directions, as you know I do on occasion. My last project was a almost total turnabout, but it worked out in the end, and it turned out really, really pretty. So sometimes you just have to pivot. But I certainly do thank you for stopping by today. I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you do, I hope you'll consider subscribing to my channel. Okay, now we're ready to put on our welcome sign and embellish our hat before we actually glue it on. So we'll go ahead and put our Aleene's tacky glue on the back of our welcome sign. Get the paint off as I possibly can from that black. I am going to put some little tiny marks on my carrot just to make it look like a carrot. That out with my finger to make sure it gets a good hole. It doesn't seep through. Just a tiny bit, and you probably can't even tell from the camera, but just put a tiny few little black marks to make it look like an actual carrot. Where the round comes up. Okay. Now that that's dry, and you do have just a few seconds to work with this if you find that you need to change your placement just a tiny bit, all of our parts and pieces. And then we'll paint our snowman's face so we can put him together. Any excess glue that you might have. I'm just going to press that down all over, hold it in place for a few seconds to make sure it has a chance to get tacky. And then I'm going to take my X-Acto knife and just make sure that I don't have any glue anywhere. Take that off. So I don't want glue showing once it dries, even though this does dry clear. clean lines. Okay. That's in place now. We're going to embellish our hat. And I will have some greenery that I'll put on it. I have a piece of wired ribbon. I actually just took the wires out because I don't need the wires for this particular project. And I wanted to keep the gold piping, but I didn't need it to be that wide. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it in half, glue it together on either end. And that's my Bella baby you hear, my little Chihuahua. She decided she wanted to spend the day with me in the craft room, but now she's being impatient. Oh, husband to the rescue. He's going to take her out to potty.
What?
Husband to the rescue. Take Bella out to potty.
I can't hear you, brother.
Alright, now, snowflakes to the side. I don't need this to go all the way around. I do want it to be close, because I mean, you know, the back of his hat. I'll pull it fairly snug, even though I'm only putting some greenery in there. Glue it right here. And it does go almost all the way around. Pull that snug. And I'm going to put just a tiny bit under here just to make sure that it stays down. Even though this is going to be hanging, it still needs to be pretty on the back. Okay. Now that we have our ribbon on, we can go ahead. And I thought this was really cute since it already had the snowflakes on it. And I thought about putting them on the hat there. But then, and I might still do that, I thought about, you know, randomly putting the snowflakes up here. So I think I'll randomly put the snowflakes up here and maybe just one on the hat brim itself. So just a tiny bit of Aleene's tacky glue. And this bottle is just about done. I do have another one though that I will open if I need to. See if there's anything in here. And looks like that one's done for. So we'll have to open our other bottle. So again, I apologize. Let me go find my new bottle of Aleene's. Okay, brand new bottle of Aleene's tacky glue. So now we can put our snowflakes on. I cut the tip at an angle so I could get a little bit better control on the amount that comes out. And then we'll tack this one right there in the middle of the rest of the snowflakes. I'll just put it, try to put it there so that it will stick. Now, the plan is going to be hanging this way. The plan is to put our little snowman hat over here. And then, of course, we'll put our nose, and then I'll make him some eyes and a mouth. And we'll have a cute little snowman hanger. I'm going to use wood glue for this, though, since it's wood on wood. His head does look a little wobbly, but it'll be okay. So I'm going to get my wood glue. It looks like the majority of his brim, I'll have it hanging up just a little bit. So I'm going to make just a tiny, tiny mark on the back side of my hat, because I'll only need glue on this bottom part. Hopefully I'll get it right this time and not put glue everywhere that I don't need to put glue. Right out on the edge. I'm just going to smooth that forward. And I got a little bit much on there. That's my sign hanging that way. I want my hat hanging over just a little bit. So I'm going to press it right there and hold that in place until it has a chance to sit. Now, that might take a skinny minute. So while that's drying, setting, we'll go ahead and put a little bit of our wood glue on the back of our nose. And I guess we'll have to hold both of those in place while they sit up. Okay, so I found one of my little sponge daubers and the end is completely flat, so we're going to use that for his eyes and his mouth. Wish me luck. Not bad. Yay! Not bad. Now we just have to do his mouth. Now I'm going to start here in the middle and work my way out to the edges. Got a little bit too much on the side there. Touch that one just a little. This works perfectly. And I'm going to give him a big smile. Big smile. It's certainly an art to make sure you get just the right amount of paint on the end of this thing. Yeah. That looks like a happy Santa, doesn't it? I hope it looks like a happy Santa. He makes me happy, so I guess that's what counts. Okay, take care of that. And then the last thing we need to do is add some greenery and probably a bow. I'm thinking, yeah, maybe a bow right here for Mr. Snowman. I think I'll make a finger bow with jute. I'm not going to make it too terribly big. I'll just make loops. See about how big I want my tails to be. And we'll hold that in place until it sets. I was at the thrift store the other day and found an old wreath. So I've been cutting off parts and pieces of the wreath to use on my crafts. So I have some little pieces of what looks to be pine. I'm going to snip off a piece of that. That's plenty big enough. And I'm going to snip off a couple of pieces of these leaves that look like they're flopped. You know, and every snowman has to have holly. I don't have any, realize I don't have any red berries. Let's see if I can tuck that right up under there. cut these holly leaves down just a little bit because they're a little bit too big. I want it to cover up my snowflakes. I'm not sitting. This one down a little bit. This one is wanting to bend, so I'm going to heat it up just a tiny bit to make it straighten out. Put that one down. Put Kim in this side. And that's going to cover up my and that wreath I found at the thrift store had some very large jingle bells on it. But I'll use those for a different project. I tuck those in there. And I haven't glued anything in. It's very snug, so I'm going to see if I can. And my hat is not wanting to stay on, so I may have to get a little bit of hot glue for that immediate hold while that wood glue has time to set up. That way it's easier to work with. I was bound and determined that this little snowman was not going to beat me today. He definitely gave me a run for my money. But in crafting, just like in life, you just have to step back and punt sometimes. But I think he's cute, and the hat turned out really well. I put 3 shiny jingle bells and then 1 rusty jingle bell on his hat, antiqued wax around the edges of the round, puff paint snow on the hat, and finally a twine bow tie for Mr. Snowman. And we're calling this one a wrap. Thanks so much for sticking around. Maybe this will help you if you've ever been frustrated things didn't go exactly as you planned. We just have to keep doing what brings us joy, and I do enjoy sharing my crafting with you. So until next time, so long and happy crafting.